This right here is my official B&T licensed Airsoft gas blowback MP9. This thing is compact, hits hard, and absolutely shreds in CQB. It is one of the most known and by some called the GOAT of gas blowback SMGs in Airsoft. But does it still hold up its value today in 2026? And is it any good compared to what else is on the market? Welcome back to my Before You Buy Honest Review series, where I break down gas blowback Airsoft replicas in detail. I'll go through all the pros and cons, upgrades, performance features, and help you decide if this is the right choice for you. Of course, I'll give it my own smash or pass at the end. If you enjoy reviews like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of my videos. Now let's dive right in. The real MP9 began life not in Switzerland but in Austria. Back in '89, Steyr introduced the TMP, Tactical Machine Pistol, a compact, high rate of fire weapon designed for close quarters combat, basically a tiny powerhouse. Despite its innovative design, the TMP struggled commercially and was eventually discontinued. In 2001, B&T stepped in, looked at the TMP and said, let's turn this up a notch. They re-engineered it, added a folding stock, Picatinny rails, beefed up the internals to make it more reliable with trigger safety, and just like that, in 2004, the MP9 was born. A slick, reliable Swiss submachine gun that's now used by special forces and police around the world, in Switzerland, India, Thailand, and more. Fast forward to early 2010s, and we got KWA's take on the legendary MP9. They built an iconic airsoft replica with gas blowback. The KWA/KSC MP9 quickly gained popularity amongst CQB players and milsim enthusiasts for a good reason. But before we get into the review, I want to showcase my second channel dedicated to cosplay, 3D printing, and cinematic films. If you're into creating cosplay suits, props, dioramas, or anything 3D printing related, be sure to check it out and subscribe. Now let's get back to the video. Price-wise, if you're in Europe, expect to pay €295 to €400 if you can find one in stock. In the US, it's around $256 to $380. And in Asia, it's more $238 to $288. I'd say that's a pretty good deal for a hard-hitting GBB. As for the magazines, they're around 55 to 45 range, depending where you can find them. You can also use VMP1 magazines, which sit around the €45 mark too. Now let's talk performance. This thing has a pretty fast fire rate. Straight out of the box, this thing fires around 370 to 400 FPS for the KWA version, and 300 to 350 FPS for the KSC with 0.2 gram BBs, meaning it's a hard hitter and might need a downgrade for indoor CQB. It weighs around 1.7 kilo and has a full length of 527mm with the stock and 305 with the stock folded. The inner bell comes out at 140. Gas efficiency is alright in mild weather. You get 2 to 3 magazines worth of BBs before refueling, depending how fast you shoot and if you run full auto or semi. But in the cold, not so much, just like any other GBB. The mags are built like bricks and weigh a lot. I ran with 5 mags a game and it does wear you down a bit, but that's to be expected with GBBs. The performance is good, the issue is durability. It has a notorious disconnector problem, and I did run into this issue myself too, so plan on getting spares. Working on the fire controls is not fun either. VTech makes a comprehensive set of upgrades for the gun, which I'll come into later. Best thing to do is wait until something breaks, then switch all the parts for upgraded ones at the same time, to minimize the number of times you have to open the FCG unit. When it comes to the top rail, optics sit right above the bolt, which does shake the optic a bit. This might be an issue in long term, but I haven't had this problem with mine yet. Apart from this, the weak spots are the nozzle, disconnector, and the disconnector springs. Also, if you're planning on using it for CQB only, you might want to downgrade to a bolt with less power. Luckily, KWA has one called the CQB bolt, which should also help with the durability. Most problems on this replica is usually caused by putting a full mag into the gun while the bolt is closed. Whenever you're reloading, either load the mag with the bolt open or load the magazine to around 45 BBs rather than the full 48. Externally, the KWA MP9 is built tough and feels pretty solid. It's got a reinforced polymer body that can handle some abuse. It comes with a folding stock, Picatinny rails, and a front rail for grips. It has a rear sight made of ABS and can be adjusted sideways. Inside, you've got an adjustable hop-up and steel outer barrel. You should use a bit of oil on the outer barrel if you run a suppressor, because it does get stuck sometimes. If you get the KSC Asian version, it's got all the correct markings. KWA for international and US market is a powered up version, which is stronger and faster firing variant compared to the KSC. Internals are made of mostly aluminum. Pins, screws, and breech slides are made of steel. I've had mine for a while now, and in the last year I've taken it to a 7 or 8 games. In my second game, the disconnector gave out and the replica turned into a single shot spring weapon. I took it home, upgraded disconnector and a bunch of other internals along with it, and it played fine from there. The magazines worked fine without issues until game 5, where 1 out of 4 mags had a leak. The VMP mags work flawlessly with the KW MP9, so I would suggest going with them. For the internals, the hop-up could use an upgrade for range, and a longer inner barrel for more velocity as well, as being able to run heavier BBs. Reliability-wise, the MP9 holds up alright. As long as you can keep it clean and lube it properly, it'll last. It's pretty easy to disassemble if you can manage to keep the small clips intact without losing them. There are problems though. This thing has a problem with the bolt not returning to battery. This could be caused by many things. The problem could be the hammer assembly, the disconnector, and the nozzle return springs. Again, I advise to use stock parts until they break, then upgrade. If you don't wish to watch the disassembly, skip over to 1040. First, start by unscrewing the binding screw using a flat screwdriver. Next, there's a button in the back that holds the recoil spring. It needs to be pushed in and then the upper receiver comes apart. I'll set that aside for now and remove the charging handle. I'm also taking off the stock to make it easier to work on since it'll be shorter. Later on, this thing is going to need a full cleaning and greasing too. Next, I take out the takedown clamp spring which locks the carrier in place by the muzzle base. Then I remove the muzzle base clamp and push in the side levers to detach the base. With that done, the whole thing comes apart. Now I take out the hammer assembly. Here you can see how the barrel and nozzle sit inside the carrier. Using a plastic hammer, I remove the pins inside the carrier to access the nozzle. Here's a close look at how the nozzle works. The trigger spring needs to come out so it doesn't launch itself across the room when I remove the rest of the trigger assembly. Now the MP9 has a ton of tiny parts that seem way too eager to escape. If you're doing this at home, be careful. Hold your hand over any small components, otherwise they might go skydiving. Like the sneaky little E-clip for example. Once again, I'm bringing out the trusted plastic hammer to push out the 2 pins holding the hammer housing. Since my disconnector is officially toast, I have to manually wiggle it forward to push the hammer. Then I pry the trigger bar to the side and pull it out. Next, I remove the trigger bar plunger. Using a small screwdriver, I take out 2 tiny components. Not gonna lie, I still have no idea what they're called, but they're coming out anyway. I also remove the disconnector spring because, well, I would rather it not spring into my face. Now I can push out the pins, which are annoying to deal with, but once that's done, the hammer housing comes right out. A quick wipe down with a cloth to clean up all the grease. And then I start disassembling the housing. The 2 screws in the back secure the recoil buffer plate. I clean off all the extra grease on the hammer, then pop it out by pushing to the sides. Next up, the disconnector. To remove it, I unscrew the impact housings and take out the hammer reset block. One thing I hadn't removed earlier was the sear housing. There's absolutely no instructions for it. Turns out it has to be pried out from the bottom. Once I have it out, I remove the tiny sear pin and take out the sear itself. Now the whole process can be reversed. If you wish a detailed assembly, you can go ahead and watch my previous video. Now, in my last video, I threw a little over 1,000 euros into this build, upgrading everything to steel. Which I can now confidently say that wasn't worth it all. For hop up and barrel, you can use the TNT dropping kit for better accuracy and range. If you want snappier recoil, VTech does make 120% recoil springs. If you want HPA, you can just tap the magazines. As I mentioned earlier, you can also get a low power bolt if you want less FPS. An end pass would also be a good idea, so you can adjust the nozzle valve. Now for the smasher pass. If you want a high-speed gas blowback SMG that can absolutely shred, the KW MP9 is a great pick. If you want something newer, you could consider the Vorsk VMP1. Now this thing performs well and it is close to the real thing. But would I suggest getting it? And actually yes I would. I would however keep it stock and just switch out with the stock parts along the way. I would give this 7 out of 10 for performance and another 8 out of 10 for aesthetics. Which means this thing gets a smash from me. So with that, let me know what you think in the comments below. And I am open to corrections as well as suggestions. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.